Hey, what's up guys? Chris VA Travels out here in Charlotte County, a little outside of the town of Brookneal, and I'm visiting the retirement home of founding father Patrick Henry. Lived here the last 5 years of his life, 1794 until 1799. And a lot to see. You've got his reconstructed house and law office. We're on a big plantation, plenty of outbuildings, a museum inside. And they've also got the world famous Osage orange tree. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. And yeah, I just checked in. The tickets are $8. And they open early. They open at 9 a.m. And pretty good bust right here. Yep. Oh, and there are also walking trails. What do we have over here? Red Hill Flagpole and Flags, dedicated by the National Society Daughters of the American Colonists. Okay, wow, 1991. Yeah, great time of year. Everything's blooming. And that's where you check in right there, the visitor center. Yeah, what a great day. And but before I walk back there, actually, I wanted to take a look at these plaques. Let me start over here. All right, so Red Hill Plantation, originally 700 acres, purchased by Patrick Henry from Richard Merritt Booker for 1,700 pounds. Okay, yeah, here we are right off the Stanton River, right near, like I say, the town of Brookneal. Brookneal was established in 1802 as Brookneal, a boat landing. Oh, all right, so Long Island Plantation, that was owned by Patrick as well. Purchased it from Richard Henry Lee in 1792. 600-acre island that was adjoined by 1,900 acres along the Stanton River. Old sketching that goes back to the 1790s. So here's the family cemetery around 1907. So this is Harrison Henry, and he became a slave under Patrick 1798. And that's great, they have these photos. All right, pretty well kept property. And here it is, just a modest home. And we're in what they call the south side of Virginia, probably the most rural part of the state. Not much going on out here. The nearest big city would be Lynchburg. Yeah, and they give you this little pamphlet filled with information, gives you a write-up on each of the dependencies. And the original house is believed to have had 2 rooms on the first floor, consisting of a master bedroom and parlor, with a loft above the stairs for additional sleeping. The front of the house faced south towards the river. During Patrick Henry's years at Red Hill, the house accommodated between 8 to 14 family members. Wow, in that little house. Oh, all right, so there's that giant Osage orange tree just starting to bloom. Would love to see it in another few weeks. But yeah, Patrick's house, a modest house, just a 1.5-story building. And it was destroyed by fire in 1919, so this reconstruction was built in 1957. And as I said, it was originally built by that Richard Merritt Booker back in the 1770s. We're looking at the back of it. Front of it is facing the Stanton River, which is a ways down there. Oh, and this is called Red Hill because we're on a clay hill. Before I go in, let me just walk around. And yeah, he had a huge family. He had 17 children altogether between 2 wives, 77 grandchildren. Sarah Shelton, his first wife, and his second wife was Dorothy Dandridge, and that would be the cousin of Martha Dandridge, who was married to George Washington. Yeah, so we saw the drawing earlier of the original portion in the center here, and add on right there, and onto the right side with just a clapboard home. Big chimney right there. So what is this? I don't know what they would have had right here, a garden or something. All right, let me go on inside and then I'll check out these dependencies. Before I go inside, speaking of Sarah Shelton, Patrick's first wife, yeah, she died mysteriously at the age of 37. She suffered from melancholy, depression. They think it was postpartum depression. Patrick Henry was thinking about her having her checked into a mental hospital, but decided to keep her in the basement of Scotchtown, his house there in Hanover County, just because she would be better cared for there. Back then, they didn't treat patients like that too well. And yeah, died mysteriously. They think probably suicide, and she's buried in an unknown spot outside of their house at Scotchtown. So yeah, pretty wild story. Okay, yeah, so obviously a lot bigger. So yeah, okay, obviously they reconstructed it to what it looked like when Patrick lived here. And then because it grew into this grand estate, this would be 1911, under Lucy Gray Henry Harrison. We've got that old wavy glass on the windows. Got your boot scraper. Patrick Henry's last home. Wow, they dedicated this back 1957 when it was rebuilt. All right, let's go on in. I love when I have these places to myself. We've got the diamond checkered floor mat down here. Pretty neat kind of compass sun design. And, all right, small little closet under the stairs. Homemade hinges. All right, so they've got this roped off, but I'll just stand right here. See the old wallpaper, and that would have been a bustling area with all the people running around the house. This is this room right here in this addition. Isn't furnished. See, it had a stove there at one time. Same old hinges. All right, your transom window there above the door. And okay, little dining room in here. Parlor, it says. Oh, all right, so the write-up over here tells me this is a drop-leaf dining table built between 1760 and 1780, made of walnut, oak, and poplar. Wow. Yeah, and dinner would normally consist of 3 courses. Pie right here. They would eat breakfast in here at 8 a.m. and dinner around 2 p.m. Yeah, that's what time they ate back then. All right, so child's chair over there. All right, so we've got a Pembroke table back here. This tea caddy back here, it's mahogany. It goes back to the 1770s, and they say Patrick would often hide money in here. Right here's a walnut vase back corner chair with a leather seat. It's a replica, it was built in 1978. Oh, all right, back here, this brass fireplace fender goes back to the 1770s. Got little feet on it. You've got the iron log holders. And this right here, they would fill this with sand. That's how you would put out a fire. And so you better act quick. This silver caster set, it goes back to the 1730s. It was made in London. And Patrick may have purchased the set from the estate of Lord Dunmore. Okay. Okay, so a little pianoforte back here. And Patrick, yeah, he was known to be a really good fiddle player. Oh yeah, old Mercury mirror. All right, yeah, they've got some pretty neat things in here. Small little dresser right here. That doesn't look like it would be original. Yeah, card table, little drawer right there. Slant top ledger desk over here. Again, goes back to the 1770s, but made of walnut, pine, poplar. Oh no, look at his little famous replica of his glasses. Let's see what's back here. And yeah, I figured, okay, master bedroom. Pretty big trunk right there. So it says this bed chamber is displayed as one of the lofts upstairs, might have looked like. But yeah, you can imagine one of the grandchildren rocking to sleep. And his famous wig. And this is a mahogany washstand. You guessed it, goes back to the 1770s. This clothes press right here, going back to the 1770s, made of walnut pine, brass handles on it. But yeah, that's where we keep all his linens and whatnot. And it says his son Edward Winston later received it as a wedding gift. Check this out, 18th century toothbrush with a sea sponge head. And they say, unlike George Washington, Patrick Henry had an excellent set of teeth. Yeah, so like I say, just a small, modest home, but some pretty neat items in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and walk the grounds, starting things off with the kitchen. All right, so dinner bell over here. And what is this? The kitchen's reproduction. Yeah, you can tell the wood and the bricks are newer. But yeah, hearth right here. And you can smell the ash, so. All right, so kind of warming oven over here. Blower up there. All right, so you've got your pans. And it looks like those spin. And yeah, your rotisserie down here. And they say you could tell who's coming with a particular lantern by the light coming out of the designs on the side. Oh, and Critty was the cook in here. So, yeah. A little sugar cone right there. Nippers behind it. Guess what is this, a Virginia ham? And quite, oh, look at this old broom. And quite often these kitchens would have a kind of a loft above where the main cook would sleep with her family. I guess she's got a little hatch right there, but yeah, anyway. Okay, so keep on moving. All right, and we've got a cellar door over here. Oh, I thought that was a cross at first. Oh, all right, well, speaking of it, this little write-up here says that Critty occupied the attic area of the kitchen with her 3 children. So, yeah, like I say, that's kind of the normal scenario. Oh, and I think back there is going to be the graveyard, but I'll get to it. I want to get behind. There's a little group coming through. I'm going to go over to the law office. Actually, they're going back to the grave. But anyway, I'm going to take a left over to his law office. Again, it's reconstructed. So a little small garden right here. Just a little herb garden. Okay, so we've got some wormwood. Some fennel right here. Oh, and lamb's ear. It's pretty easy to spot. Okay, so I have some rosemary right here. There's a few butterflies out. Just a small little sundial. Looks like uses a target for the birds. And you would think those maybe were bird baths, I don't know. Oh yeah, and I don't want to ignore the Osage orange tree. But I believe there's a plaque giving some more information. But this is an award-winning tree, I know that. Thing's pretty gnarly. Okay, so this isn't really a total reconstruction. It was restored in 1961. So I guess it's been here since it was originally built back in the 1770s and just used as a caretaker's cottage at that time before Patrick lived here. What, last law office of Patrick Henry, like I say, restored 1961. Oh, using the major portion of the original structure. Yeah, obviously Patrick was retired from law at this time, but just would use this office just to keep track of his land holdings and his records. Oh, I remember this. They have this same table at Scotchtown that I mentioned in Hanover County. It's a map table. You could spread a big map on top of it, like this one, I guess. And yeah, you just have the Tidewater and Piedmont regions of Virginia right here. Obviously a writing desk right here. And this isn't a coal box. Looks like it's leather. I don't know why they have it near the fireplace. But okay, book press back here. And yeah, it's writing desk. And there's probably some secret compartments in there. All right, so it's talking about that pedestal table or the map table. And so that's a reproduction. The original, like I say, is over at Scotchtown. Yeah, original goes back to the 1760s and made of mahogany and juniper. All right, so Virginia Daughters of the American Revolution. As I always say, shout out to my Aunt Nancy, who is a member. And this room set up as a living quarters for Patrick and Dorothea's sons. Just a simple rope bed right here. Oh, so they got a flintlock musket under. That's not really a trundle bed, but just a small bed, I guess. They obviously had a stove here at one time. And all right, so just do some writing by candlelight. And of course your washstand. I'll tell you, after that fire in 1919, Patrick Henry's great-granddaughter, that Lucy Henry Harrison, she had to set up as her dwelling as well. And what is this right here? Henry something attorney, Patrick Henry something produces a license signed by George, I can't tell, I see John Randolph. Well, I'll let you guys pause and try to make that out. But right here, April 1760. Wow, I see Majesty King George the First. Okay, I did find some information on the Osage orange. Yeah, thing stands 65 feet tall. Branches span more than 93 feet. And wow, look how thick the trunk is. Oh yeah, it's got wires holding up the branches. I can just tell you it's a 350-year-old tree. Was here during the Revolution, obviously. Well, it was here when Patrick lived here because they say he played with his grandchildren under the tree. That's pretty cool. Oh, and this is the oldest Osage orange in America. I didn't know all that. Wow. It was used by the Osage Indian tribe out of Missouri and used to make their bows. Hey guys, before I continue on to the rest of the dependencies and the cemetery, let me show you around the museum. You're gonna have a bunch of personal items from inside the house, and I'll also show you all the different family members and owners of the house throughout the years. Granddaughter of Patrick Henry, this is Laura Helen Henry Carter. Sadly died at just 20 years old. We'll see her grave in a bit, but died in 1856. This was painted posthumously in 1863. House would end up getting larger than this, and on the left we'll see a little snippet of William Wirt Henry's law office, which no longer stands. Yeah, fingerprints on this clay brick, and it comes from the remains of the William Wirt's law office. Dorothea Spotswood Henry Winston, and she's the first child born to Patrick and his second wife Dorothea. And she's the first non-royal to be born at the governor's palace. Wow, okay. And this portrait is a copy of the lost 1796 original. Patrick's daughter-in-law Elvira, and she's married to his son John. Painting of his most famous moment, the Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech at St. John's Church during the Second Virginia Convention. Down lower left, you've got Richard Henry Lee. With his arms stretched across there, that's Edmund Pendleton. It has it on top of Peyton Randolph. The older guy behind Edmund, that's George Witt. And then you've got some ladies up there in the balcony. The husband of Elvira and Patrick's son, John Henry. English guitar, also called a pianoforte guitar, circa 1790, belonged to Dorothea and was popular amongst 18th century women. Violin is John Henry's, so I guess Patrick passed his musical abilities on to his children. This thing's made of spruce and maple. Harrison again, wearing that top hat he's famous for. And wife Millie. This is a model for the final painting, and you'll see a 1-inch scale going around. It was painted by artist Peter Rothermel. Toasting fork, used to brown and toast food such as bread and cheese by holding the pronged end over an open fire. Ledger cabinet he used in his law office. It was made up in Winchester around 1790. It's made of walnut, yellow pine, and white pine. Father of Dorothea, it's Alexander Spotswood, big player in early 18th century Virginia. Started up the Germana colony, also namesake of Spotsylvania County. And you'll see the portrait hung inside the house. This photo is circa 1918. This medicine chest was owned by John and Elvira here at Red Hill. You'll see Purcell Ladd written on the bottom of a lot of these labels, and that's a drugstore out of Richmond. Vase was owned by Patrick's great-granddaughter, Elizabeth Henry Lyons. A printed scene of French Baroque pastimes. Scent cases come from France, owned by Sarah Aylett Fontaine, granddaughter of Patrick. Monteith bowl, sterling silver, great detail, used by William Wirt Henry, grandson. That's his monogram etched into the bottom. Set of salt cellars. Paper cutter he held during his Give Me Liberty speech, and at the end when he proclaimed, "Or give me death," he plunged it toward his chest as if it were a dagger. This tureen is called Indian Temple. It's Staffordshire pottery, and the printing is to recreate a 1713 engraving of a Chinese emperor's mountain resort. Northwest view of it right here. Don't know the year. The graveyard looks exactly as it does today. I'll show you this large painting. 5-part Edwardian mansion, I guess maybe you want to call it, but you'll see the 2 wings, 2 hyphens in between. A simple portico. This is for all you who like to look at floor plans. You'll see it's broken up from when it was just Patrick's original cottage and through all the additions. As you see, a lot of information, timeline going through his entire life. And this is where you watch the introductory video. His birthplace, Hanover County. Hanover Tavern, right across from the Hanover Courthouse. And this is where he worked and lived at one point. Pine Slash, where he and his first wife Sarah lived after getting married. They call it their honeymoon cottage. Copy of his law license he obtained in Williamsburg. This is Scotchtown that I had mentioned, where he lived through the 1770s. Resolutions against the Stamp Act he introduced on May 29th, 1765, while a member of the Burgesses, and he actually represented Louisa County. St. John's Church, site of the Second Virginia Convention, where he gave the passionate "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. Register of all the African Americans at Red Hill. And you'll see Critty the cook. Another of his homes, and this is Salisbury, lived here during his 4th and 5th terms as governor. Grandson William Wirt Henry, and he inherited the house, usually primarily as a summer home. Great-granddaughter Lucy Henry Harrison, and she was left out of the will because she had married the wealthy Matthew Harrison, and they already owned a large estate. Okay, yeah, I was going to say this looks like it would be a slave cabin. And Harrison's cabin, we saw him earlier. Here it is being reconstructed in June of '64. This photograph goes back to 1890. And yeah, I guess they would have their little garden right here. 25% of this was built with the original logs. And it originally sat on a hillside near the family mansion. Big stone chimney over here. Yeah, dovetail design. Stone foundation. Birds just shot right by me. But over here, spinning wheel. And yeah, here's that loft setup I was talking about that you would usually see in the kitchens. All right, so the space is to reflect an 1870 freedman's cabin. Obviously, these sleeping quarters are upstairs, so just kind of drying out the clothing right here. Got some fish over there. Pretty big ham. And your wash tub. Standard plank door right there. So that's not a brush right there, more of a rake. Oh, okay, you can walk up here. It says, just please remain on the ladder. Okay guys, anybody know what this is? Is it to help you get your boot on? Not familiar with that, but yeah, a lot cooler up here. But just a standard rope bed. Oil lamp back there. And there's his top hat that we saw in the picture. These smokehouses are usually identifiable by the diamond-shaped roof. Yep, okay, so Got some hams hanging in there. Smoking was quite a process. Meat would sit in a tub of salt for about 6 weeks to extract all the water. Yeah, and they'd smoke it for about 2 weeks after that. And the pit would be lined in pepper. That would keep the insects away. And I don't know why they have a ladder going down into the pit, but, and I would imagine they would store it in here. So you got some ventilation holes. They're even trying to preserve this branch. Got it wired up also. But yeah, pretty old cedar. Need to check the map, see if there are any more outbuildings. You would think there might be an ice house around here somewhere, but kind of a boxwood maze, it looks like. And, well, here's the center of it. This stone surface right here might have been a macadam, which may have been the floor to a greenhouse or orangery. Kind of odd you would have it this close to the house. And Patrick Henry's daughter-in-law, Elvira, used to grow lemons, citrus, and sell them at market. It says from the spot you can see Charlotte, Campbell, and Halifax counties. And the view has changed a little since Patrick's time. So, yeah, there's a little bit of cotton grown in the southern part of the state here. All right, I'm gonna walk over, take a look at the blacksmith shop. Yeah, here it is, blacksmith shop. I was hoping they would have a demonstration going on. Not today, probably just when they have events or whatever. This is actually a pretty good blacksmith shop. Yeah, you see your blower right there. And yeah, pull the handle up and down while you're working the forge. And your anvils. Of course, there's a strong ashy scent in here. All right, yeah, obviously your bucket of water. All your nippers. Okay, all your coal over here. And nails were a popular item to make. Yeah, they could pop those things out pretty quick. Yeah, so these plantations were pretty much just self-sufficient little towns, basically. Made all your tools, you had to make all your clothes, obviously grow all your food. And what is this? Let me pull out the map. Is it just a storage barn? So I believe, okay, it is the carriage house. All right, I was getting a little mixed up on the map, but I see the sign on the door. So yeah, just I guess used for storage up top. All right, so part of an old plow right here. What is this stick up here? I thought it was the handle to a hoe. It's kind of would be too long, but a lot of times they would use tree branches way back when. And yeah, just hay over here. Okay. All right, well, just a quick look at the carriage house. And oh, I think I just saw a little lizard slither down there between the rocks. Old cedar shingles. And they've got this thing built right into the side of the ground. Smaller window right there. But yeah, locked up. Okay, stable and carriage house. Sign says. Yeah, breeze feels good on the hill here. All right, we've got a pear tree next to it. And this plaque over here, I believe it was the site. Yeah, it's going to be the site of the William Wirt Henry Law Office. It was moved by Lucy Henry Harrison in the early 1900s to be connected to the Patrick Henry Law Office on the other side of the house. William Wirt Henry, grandson of Patrick, born here in February of 1831 to John and Elvira. And he attended UVA. Okay, this is what I thought. Yeah, these bricks mark that 1911 edition by Lucy Henry Harrison, who is the daughter of the William Wirt Henry, who had the law office right over there. So she'd be Patrick Henry's great-granddaughter. And yeah, pretty sizable house. You can imagine this might have been one of the bedrooms right here we're walking in. Check out the graves. Nice scent in the air. Okay, Henry Family Cemetery. Is that saying that Alexander Spotswood might be buried here? That wouldn't be the same Alexander Spotswood. But you see Patrick Henry and Dorothea. Yeah, John Henry and Elvira. The cemetery started up 1798 when Patrick and Dorothea's daughter Jane passed away prematurely. Over here died just 1 year old, John Henry. So his granddaughter, Laura Helen Carter, and she was the daughter of John and Elvira, and she was married to James Carter, and I'm guessing he's a descendant of the big Carter family. But, oh, she died July 4th. Same day as 4 presidents. Oh, all right, so I guess they found some remains right here. Unknown infant. Couple unknowns over here. And they can use ground-penetrating sonar to, find these graves. Oh, here we are right here. Again, Daughters of the American Revolution. Yeah, Dorothea right here. I'll say it again, cousin of Martha Dandridge, George Washington's wife. But yeah, so she was a widow for 32 years. Okay, Patrick Henry. Wow, yeah. Yeah, John and Elvira over here. John Henry. Born February 17, yeah, Patrick Henry was having kids up until he died. And Elvira was born 1755, so she would have been 41, or maybe still 40, when she had John. Oh, yeah, Elvira lived until 1875. Yeah, they're loving this thing. If you're from out of town wanting to visit, you probably would want to stay in Lynchburg, which I'm about 35 minutes away. And if you're there, you can visit Poplar Forest, Thomas Jefferson's retirement home. Made a video on it recently if you want to check it out. Headed over to the walking trail. So yeah, 1 mile trail, like I say, and it looks like there might be a few things to see, including the African American cemetery. 147 graves are present. So yeah, here's a map of it right here. I had a small museum planned after this, but it's not a big deal if I miss it. But yeah, all right, so here's a slave cabin right here. Well, here we go. Looks like a 2-story slave cabin. And the price of chains and slavery. Oh, all right, so hopefully this is, yes, it is open. Okay, so there's a bunch of plaques in here and areas again. Harrison Henry with his hat. On the left here, sharecropper and formerly enslaved Harry Pennell. And enslaved governess holding one of the Henry children, circa 1865. A lot of information going through the history of slavery here in the New World. Of course, the first 29 came over in 1619 to Old Point Comfort. And I've been there if you want to check it out. It's in my Fort Monroe video. And right here, some engravings advertising Virginia tobacco. What the heck is that thing he's holding above his head? Okay, paper knife again that Patrick Henry held when he gave his famous speech. Okay, guys. Well, it's nice to cool down for a few minutes in here, but knock out the rest of this trail. Oh, here are the specs. But yeah, reconstructed cabin. Oh, I'm seeing the foundation of something right over there. This will give me some information. But a pretty large stone foundation. That'd be pretty large if that's a slave quarter. And 2 buildings right next to each other. Cabin foundations. Okay, so 2, I guess. I can see that. Yeah, so these were slave cabins and then used by sharecroppers. Photo from 1945. And I guess a colored drawing. Yeah. All right, so stone foundation. Okay. Imagine maybe that was a fireplace sticking out right there. And you probably have one on the other side. Okay, so we've got another building back here. I don't see a chimney on it. So this might just be a barn maybe. Something used for storage. But check this plaque out. Oh yeah, so tobacco barn. And yeah, you take it on down the Stanton River. There they are, curing it right there. Oh yeah, typical boat they would use. They had a model of a similar boat over at Poplar Forest. Again, Thomas Jefferson's summer retreat. And Red Hill yielded over 20,000 pounds of tobacco each year. I don't imagine they would have any hanging or anything. Oh yeah, I'll hop in here just to escape the heat for a second. But yeah, you'd have it all hanging from the rafters. And yeah, you would usually have a heat source being pumped in here. Okay, maybe right there. Yeah. Okay, cemetery. Straight ahead, 1/4 of a mile, it says. Oh, all right, it continues. What is this saying? An ordering pit. I don't think I've ever heard of an ordering pit. Most ordering pits were built under barns and could be as deep as 8 feet. Tobacco workers would access the pit through a trapdoor or ladder. Wow. All right, well, here's a tobacco ordering pit. So I imagine you had a barn right here. This would have been underneath. Okay, so I see some stones over there that was maybe lining it. A purposely placed log right there. Okay, yeah, more stones there. Okay, made it down to it. And for anybody maybe older or out of shape, I just did walk down a fairly steep 500-foot drop, which I'm going to have to walk back up in a minute. Oh, here it is right here. Quarter Place Cemetery. Again, here's the Harrison Henry and a map right here. So a lot of burials, 107 graves been identified. And they used LIDAR technology to identify the graves. Okay, yeah, this is pretty typical. A lot of times you would just have a stone in these cemeteries. A lot of times they would use kind of just a wooden kind of cross sticks that would obviously disintegrate. These are pretty thick trees. I wonder how long they've been here, but. So we've got Matilda Pinnell, and she was born in 1861, died in 1923. And it doesn't look like they've identified any others. Just lots of these rocks. And this reminds me of the gravesite over at the Berry Hill Plantation. Yeah, too bad they don't have the names, but at least they've been identified. Yeah, 147 found so far. This is a very rooty area. Yep, so I guess Matilda, the only one identified. I just looked at the plaque again, and Matilda was the only one that said, yeah, that was found. And I'm surprised they didn't. They don't know where the Harrison Henry is buried, but it didn't say, at least on the plaque. But all right, I'm gonna walk back up this 500-foot hill. Okay, well, there's a train going by behind me, but a lot of pine trees over there. Okay, you can see a little bit through the trees. Anyway, yeah, before I get out of here, I'll let you know there are several other Patrick Henry related sites to visit in Virginia. Besides Red Hill, you've got Scotchtown there in Hanover County, Hanover Courthouse, where he first practiced law, argued Parson's cause, kind of put him on the map. The Hanover Tavern, where he worked and lived. Also down in that area, you've got Shelton's Cottage, Sarah Shelton, his wife's family home, where they supposedly got married. And then there's Pine Slash right nearby, where they lived after they got married. Oh yeah, St. John's Church, of course, where he gave his famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. Second Virginia Convention. Got my steps in for the day for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. But yeah, obviously a great place to visit. How relaxing is this? But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. So yeah, as always, like and subscribe. See you guys on the next one.